Hey guys, it's Trey here, and today in this video I want to show you guys how to create another React component. The component we will be creating today is a showcase. If you're unaware of what a showcase is, it's basically like the landing page of a site. So like that first page that you see when you go to a website. Here are some examples here. So we're going to go ahead and create a very basic one. It's not really going to look as nice as any of these, but there's another one up here. So it's just the landing page. So we're going to do this using React. All right, so I've already set up a React project, and I just got all of the excess files out of here that we won't need. The only external file we'll need is an image. So we'll be setting up one for an electronic company, and just say they sell computers and headphones and stuff like that. And we're going to set up a page for that. I'm going to be using this image as our showcase image. And then we'll put, like, in this area over here somewhere, there will be like a box with the Nav Bar and a button for them to click to do something. Probably just say like shop now or something. And then we'll have some text in the middle somewhere. And let's go ahead and get started. So you will need to download an image that you will want to use for your background. I have this one here. I got it off of Google. Just search, find an image. Inside of our app.js is where we'll be putting the actual component that we have not created yet. So let's go ahead and create that component. So in the source folder, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it components. All right, now that I have the components folder, I'm going to create a new folder inside of that folder, and we're going to call it showcase. All right, inside of the showcase folder, we need to create two files. We're going to have one that's named showcase.js, and then we need another file that's going to be named showcase.css. All right, now that we have those two done, we can go back to our app.js file and put that in here. So first thing I did was I imported our file, our image file, from this images folder here. So that's what this line is, this BG image. So under that, I'm going to go ahead and import our showcase. So we're gonna say showcase from .components/showcase/showcase. All right, and then I'm gonna erase this hello world, and this is where I'll add our showcase. So we'll just put in showcase. And we will have props for it, but right now I'm just going to steer clear of those, and we'll add those in later once we actually have our showcase written. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go back to our showcase.js file. I'm going to close that out so we have a little bit more room, and I'll make that a little larger. And here I'm using a plugin for VS Code, and I can just type in RFCE and hit enter, and it will generate a functional component for me. I'm not 100% sure which plugin this was, but you can find it if you just search the plugins down here, the extensions. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and add in our props. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through these props, and then I'll explain them as I go. So the first thing we're going to need to do is import that BG image, that same image that we had out there in the app.js file. Also, we're going to need to pass in the Nav Bar item. So basically the name of the item and the URL for it. So we'll just type in Nav Items. This is going to be a list, and we'll define that list later. All right, after that, we're going to need to have our header title. So this is just going to be the text for the header. And then we're going to need the content, which is going to be the text that's inside of, the showcase box. Pretty much is just whatever you want that main bulk of text to be. And then we're also going to need some button text for our button. And I believe this is all we'll need for our props. And now let's go ahead and go back to our app.js file and actually just create this stuff. I'm going to go back to the app.js file. Inside of our showcase, we're going to add all of these props. So the first thing we need to do is the BG image. and we'll just import that from the BG image that we've imported up here. And after that, what do we need? We need the nav items. So we're going to say nav items equals nav items. All right, let's go up here. Inside of this render function, we're going to create an array that's going to hold our nav items. So we're going to say const nav items, and then instantiate a new array, and then we're going to put a couple of objects in here. So it's going to have a name, and then it's also going to have a URL. And let's go ahead and create. I'm going to create 4 of these. We'll have one that's home. We're actually not going to have like actual URLs, but this is where you would put real URLs. All right, so this is our established list of nav items. All right, you can add as many as you want or as few as you want. Next up, we need to do our header. Our header will just be electronics galore. All right. And then from here, we can add our content. And this content is going to be, I'm just going to copy and paste some text in here. You can write whatever you want in here. So here's our content. And then last thing we need is the button text. And this is just going to be shop now. All right, so now we've passed in all of the props we're going to need. Let's head back to our showcase.js file. And in here, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to create all of the markup, and then we'll style it later. So let's go ahead and start with the markup. We will have this outer div will have a class name of showcase. And then we're going to create another div inside of here. And this is going to have a class name of container. Then inside of here, we're going to have another div with and this div is going to have a class name of main. Then inside of here, we're going to have another div. This one's going to have a class name of header. Then under that div, we're going to have another div, which is going to have a class name of content. And then under there, we'll have a button. And this button will have a class name of BTN. All right. And then we're going to fill in this stuff now. So inside of the header div, we're going to have an H1, which is going to have our header text inside of it. Inside of content, we're going to have a P tag, and it's going to have our content in there. And then inside the button, we're going to have the button text inside of there. Now we need to go ahead and add in our image and our nav items. So if we go up to that outermost div, we're going to add our BG image to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say style, and then we're going to do open and closing curly braces. And inside of those open and closing curly braces, we're going to put another set of curly braces. So inside of here, we will define our style for our BG image. So we're going to say background image, and then we're going to put in we're going to do this, and then we're going to do BG image. And then we're going to put in background size, and this is going to be cover. And then we're going to do background repeat, and then we're going to set that to no repeat. All right, and I believe this is all we will need for that. And then now we need to add in our nav items. So our nav items are going to go on top of the header. So we're going to do another div, and then we're going to call this class name, we're going to call it Nav Bar. Then inside of this div, we're going to do unordered list. And then inside of this list, we're going to map out our nav items. So we're going to do open and closing curly braces. And then we're going to type in nav items dot map. then inside of this map function, we're going to put in another set of open and closing parentheses. Inside of there, we're going to write item and then index. And then we're going to have our arrow function. All right. And then let me get this out of the way. All right. So inside of here, we're going to go ahead and create a list item. And then inside of that list item, we're going to create an anchor tag. All right. So we have all of this. And then inside of this anchor tag, we're going to put in the item.name. Because remember, if we go back to our app.js file, we see that each one of these items is going to have a name and a URL. So let's go back to our showcase.js file. And then inside of the anchor tag, we're going to display the name. For the href of the anchor tag, we're going to put the item.url. And then for the li, we need to establish a key, because in React, anytime you do a map, you need each individual item needs a separate key. So that's what we need the index for. So we're going to, in the list item tag, we're going to specify a key that is set to index. All right, so with this being done, the markup is pretty much done. I believe everything is complete. We used all of our props here, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. All right, so we have this here, and this is what our showcase looks like at the moment. Doesn't look too hot. Our background image should be showing. I have to see why it's not. I might have said something wrong, but our background image should have been here. But everything else is looking pretty good. So let's go back and figure out why the background image is not looking good. All right, I figured out why the background image is not displaying. I made a mistake in this style tag here. So if we go up to where the background image is, we need to wrap this BG image in a URL. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some single quotes, and then we're going to say URL with an opening parenthesis, and then we're going to concatenate the background image in the middle, and then we're going to put a closing parenthesis. So this will allow us to see our background image. So as we can see, the background image is there. It's just everything is not styled correctly. So we need to go ahead and handle the styling. We're just going to go one by one and style all of these different components to the way we want them. The first thing we need to do is import our CSS file. So at the top of our showcase.js file, we're going to type in import, and then we're going to say ./showcase.css. So this will import our style sheet file and allow us to use these styles here. So what we're going to do now is go to our showcase.css, and before we start styling our components, we need to do one thing. We need to add a rule here. So it's going to be this star, and then inside of here, we're going to say margin, set that to 0. Then we're going to say padding, set that to 0, and then we're going to say box sizing, border box. All right. So what this is going to do is remove the margin and padding, and it's going to allow us to style our stuff, our components the way we want to. So let's go ahead and start styling our showcase here. So we're going to start with this showcase. So we go to our CSS file, type in .showcase. Inside of here, what we want to do is set this to take up the entire browser screen. So what we're going to do, how we're going to do this is we're going to say width equals 100 VW, which stands for view height. Then we're going to set the height to 100 VH, which is view height. So that's going to stretch out our image to reach the entire size of the browser. So let's just go ahead and take a look at that really fast. So as we can see here, we have the image is now taking up the entire screen. But now we just need to style the rest of this stuff here. So let's head back to our code. And then next up will be the container. So this container will have a display of grid. And then we're going to set the grid template columns to 1FR, 3FR. If you're not familiar with the CSS grid, then you should probably take the time now to go take a quick look at it, see what we're setting here. Basically, we're just setting display to grid, and then we're setting 2 columns. The first column is going to be 1/3 the size of the second column. So there will only be 2 columns for each row, and we're only going to have 1 row. So that's going to be that. We're going to justify the content to the center, and we're going to align the items to the center. And we're also going to set the height to 100 view height. All right. So that should move everything to the center on the left side of the screen. All right. So now that we have this, we need to go ahead and style the main, which is what's next. So we're going to go .main. Then inside of here, we're going to say display is flex. Flex direction is column. Then we're going to justify the content center. And then we're going to align the item center. And then we're going to set the background color to #DDAA77. Yeah, that's the color I want. So we're going to get a nice brown here. So if we take a look at this and see how everything is, we moved everything from up here to over here. And then we set the background to brown. And now let's go ahead and move on to this nav bar here. All right, so we're going to say .nav bar. And then we're going to set this also to flex. And we'll justify the content center, align item center. All right. And here we're going to change the background color. And we're going to set it to, let's set it to 886644. Let's see how that looks. It's all right. We'll just leave it like that for right now. We might change it later. I just want it to be a darker color. All right, now that we've got that, we can go ahead and set the width to be 100%. And we'll just leave the height. We'll leave the height regular. And we'll just add a padding. Let's do 1EM 0. So we'll do 1EM in the vertical directions and 0 in the horizontal direction. So let's take a quick look at that again. There we go. So now we have that stretched out all the way. And now let's style the unordered list that's under the nav bar. So we'll say .nav bar UL. And then we're going to say display also flex. Then we're going to say text, not text. We're going to say list style type, and then we'll say none. That will take away the bullet point. And then I believe that's all we need for this. Next, we can style the list items that are part of the ULs. So we're going to say nav bar LI. And then we're going to have some padding. We'll say 0 in the vertical directions and 1EM in the horizontal direction. And then we're going to style the anchor tags, which are inside of the list items. So we're going to set the color to white. That should take the color to white. And then we'll say text decoration. And we'll set that to none. That should get rid of that underline. So let's take another look, see where we at so far. All right, so now our nav bar is looking much, much better here. Now we can style these and get a little bit of a hover effect going on. So if we go back to our code and under here, we're going to say .nav bar A and then hover. And then we're going to set the cursor to pointer. We're going to set the color to, let's just change it to black. And then we're going to add a transition. The transition is going to be for the color. It's going to have a duration of 0.2 seconds. It is going to be ease in. So we're going to take this exact same transition. We'll copy it and we're going to paste it in the regular A. So when it transitions back, it'll transition with this same transition. So if we save this and then take a look at this here. So now when we hover, we get a pointer, and it hovers and turns the words black. All right, so that's pretty much all we're going to do for the nav bar. We're not going to actually make it work. So, all right, so we got that. Let's go ahead and head back and style this header here. All right, so let me check to make sure the header is what is next. So we did nav bar. Yep, so we're doing the header now. So dot header. So here we're just going to add a padding of 1 EM and 0. So it'll be 1 EM in the vertical direction, 0 in the horizontal direction. I believe that's really all I want to do for this. All right, there we go. So now it added the padding there. So let's head back to our code. And what's next? We need to do style the content. Dot content. And this content will also have some padding. Let's just add padding to the bottom. And then we'll add 1 EM. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks good. All right. And then last up is that button. So let's go ahead and style the button .btn. And then we're going to say background color equals the same color as the background. And then we're going to have a border. The border is going to be 1 pixel solid black. All right. And then we'll set the color to, let's just leave it as black for right now. We could add some padding. We'll do 0.5 EM in the vertical direction and 1 EM in the horizontal direction. So we're going to say margin. Well, let's do just add margin to the bottom. Margin bottom, and then we'll set it to 1 EM. All right. Let's see what we have now. There we go. So now it looks kind of spaced. Let's add some more margin to the sides for the content. So I think I set it to 0 before. I might need to. Actually, I didn't even set it. So let's just say for here, we'll just say another 1 EM, 1 EM. I need to set this. I think it's 0 first. All right, so I think that should set it to what I want. Yeah, there we go. So now, as you can see, we have some padding here, padding on the sides. And now it's looking pretty decent. Let's add a little hover effect for the button down here. And then, yeah, I think we'll call it. So let's go ahead back to our code. And at the bottom down here, we're going to do .btn hover. All right. So now we have the hover, and we're going to set cursor pointer. And then we'll set background color to be, so background color goes there. And then let's actually, I'm going to steal that same transition from the nav bar. But the difference here is we're going to have to set the background color. So background dash color, and then copy that and paste it up here in the button. And now we should have some hover effects for the button. The background color is not changing. All right, I forgot the hash right here, so don't forget the hash in the button hover. So let me save that, and let's head back over here to see what we got. All right, so now we got a hover effect on the button. All right, so this is pretty much it. It's a very simple showcase, and this is how you could make one. You could even move this up here, the nav bar up here, however you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted to make one really quickly and show you just, basically how to get one done. Basically, the main portion is really this image here, however you want to set up the image. The rest of this stuff is pretty simple. It's just regular HTML, CSS. The image is really what's going to capture and make your stuff look nice. This is pretty much all I wanted to show you guys. Thanks for watching the video. Like and subscribe to the channel and all that jazz. And I will see you guys in the next video.